One day Jimmy got a whole of us up into his bedroom and sort of outlined the entire stage show to us all. And I can remember his saying, "It's a wonderful scene, Ian, where you come on dressed as a banana." And I remember Edward Sinclair, who was always sort of very dry in ways, saying, "This all sounds very interesting." I thought it might be fun, and it was, and it was absolutely marvellous. I mean, obviously one was a bit terrified opening in the West End. Well, we didn't open in the West End, we opened in Billingham, but coming to the West End. And then, of course, not only the West End, but we then had this wonderful 6-month tour in that glorious summer of 1975 or six, I think. And, it was absolutely magic. We had a wonderful time. The show was a musical, and so we sang a number of the wartime songs that had been part of my youth, I have to say, and a number of one or two songs that Jimmy and David had specially written for the show. I wouldn't say everyone was singing. I mean, we were trying to sing. On the very first day of rehearsal, the musical director, Ed Coleman, sat everybody round, actors, singers, dancers, the lot, and made everybody sing the first 2 notes of Over the Rainbow. Somewhere. And of course that is it's an octave, so you can tell where a person's pitch is. And you could see the actors like Janet Davis getting more and more terrified, and me getting more and more terrified as it was going to be our turn. But no, it was great. I mean, it was wonderful. And the first day we had the band, I mean, that was incredible. I mean, it really was. You know, going into this band call and hearing the band for the first time. Well, it was great. That was up in Billingham. John Barton played Jimmy Beck's part because obviously they didn't write, once Jimmy had died, they didn't put him in the television series cast by another actor, very wisely. But I think once they were doing the stage show, they thought, well, you know, we could bring Walker back into that. And it was played by John Barton, who played it very differently from Jimmy, but, you know, gave a very, very good performance. Oh, now, wait a minute. Oh, John Laurie said, "No, I've got better things to do with my time than coming into the West End every night at the age of 80. I don't want to do that. I'd rather be at home with my wife." And so an actor called Hamish Roughhead, who was excellent, played the part of Fraser. And that was it. Oh, no, on tour, Clive Dunn only did the first 6 weeks of the tour, and then the part was taken over by Jack Haig, who of course later became very well known in Hello, Hello. One of the things was, of course, we were doing the show in the evening, which meant we had all the day free, unless we had, I think we had a couple of matinees during the week, but all the other days were totally free during the day. And we played some lovely places. So Bill Pertwee, myself, Teddy Sinclair and Ronnie Grange, who was another actor, singer in the show, we used to go out for days out, and we had a wonderful time, and we were at the seaside quite a lot, and so those who were into that kind of thing sort of stripped off and sunbathed. I just sat looking rather dignified in a Panama hat. But no, that was a wonderful time, lovely time. At the end of every performance, being it was Dad's Army and very patriotic and all that, we always sang the national anthem. But on this particular night, when the point came when we would normally have sung the national anthem, we all sang Happy Birthday to You to Arnold, and they wheeled on an enormous cake in the shape of an 80, which was absolutely wonderful. Great, great moment. Joan played a number of parts in that, either Elsie or Doris Waters, the one that Pamela Cuddill didn't play. I don't know which was which. I never knew when Gert and Daisy which was which, so there we are. But she and Arthur were wonderful sort of kind of parents of the company. And one of the things, and she was a bit like matron at school, because one of the things you had to be very careful about, if you'd got a cough or a cold or you weren't feeling too well, don't let Joan Lowe know, because she had patent medicines which she would insist on pouring down your throat. The show was enormously popular when people knew we were there, but I think sometimes, once or twice, publicity failed us. I remember going, the very first date on the tour was Manchester, and I went up with Teddy Sinclair. We were looking for our digs, and Teddy was driving, and we were driving around, and Teddy was saying, I can't find this place we're supposed to go. And I said, do you know, Teddy, we've been driving all over Manchester, and I have not seen a single poster for the show yet. So it took a bit of time in those kind of places to get it into people's head that we were there. And then when we went to Blackpool, where we should have been an enormous success, we arrived, and in the front of the theatre there was a big poster advertising a review or something that was coming on after us, and in those sort of glass letters it said Arthur Lowe and John Le Mesurier in Dad's Army, and it really looked as though they were going to show the Dad's Army feature film there. And so that again was, on other occasions, Bournemouth, I think, was one, and certainly the last date we had of all Bath, and several other places. I mean, people were queuing for returns because it had been sold out long before we got there. So it was a mixture in a way. When publicity was there, it was marvellous. When the publicity didn't work, then people didn't even know we were there. I actually remember, I think it was in Nottingham, travelling on a bus, and somebody recognised me and said, what are you doing here? I said, I'm playing at your main theatre here. He said, I didn't know. So there you are, you know, publicity is terribly important. Dad's Army's appeal is that it's a family show, that it's based on characters. People fall in love with the characters, they're the ones they want to see. And so therefore, the stage show was a marvellous... When I was a boy, I used to go to the theatre to see the people I'd heard on the radio. You know, I'd go to the Golders Green Hippodrome just down the road and see Old Mother Riley and Max Miller and all those sort of people. In this case, I think people had the chance to see these people, these characters they'd grown to love on television, as it were, in the flesh, and it was wonderful. And of course, outside the stage door, you'd find lots and lots of fans sort of wanting autographs, and a lot of young girls saying things like, oh, it's the vicar, shall we get his while we're waiting for Ian Lavender? I think possibly my stage days are over. What I would really like is a nice little cameo in something on television. The thought of... I did pantomime up to about 2 years ago, and I decided then that, I don't know, all this shouting about on stage night after night was perhaps something I didn't want to do anymore particularly. Having said that, like any other actor, if something marvellous turned up, I'm sure I'd do it.